Then I took a smidge and applied it down there.
This One's Wife. Harry's Diary. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This One's Wife wants to be taken seriously. This is because she thinks that she is a serious and important person. This is because she believes that she is of gravitas, that she matters on the world stage. She forgets that she's a not particularly bright individual who was once an actress, in the professional sense at least, who ran a lifestyle blog. Hardly unique, and what she endeavoured at was hardly something which set the world alight. But in her deluded mind, she believes that what she has to say is what everybody should hear, that the word salad that comes tumbling from her mouth has meaning and import. She believes that she is insightful, profound, that she offers unique observations on the world, and that when she gets hold of a mic, on the occasions that people will actually let her have one, she will then ensure that you are imbued with her words of wisdom. She believes she is a serious person, and she demands that she's treated accordingly. Harry does have a sense of humour, but he has become infected also with the desire to be taken seriously. Part of his petulance, of course, was at the perception of being a spare, something which catered to his narcissistic trait of resentment. This has been harnessed by his wife, who has cultivated that resentment and utilised it to control Harry and steer him against his family members. He thus believes that the two of them are important, that they are important individuals on the world stage. There's plenty of evidence that not only demonstrates that they're not, but also that their attempts to be taken seriously have fallen completely flat on their faces. This is because they're regularly ridiculed. South Park did it brilliantly, Family Guy did so also. We have seen it from comedians such as Kevin Hart. We have seen regularly commentators, both mainstream and otherwise, ripping the piss out of the dubious duo. The gruesome twosome find themselves on the receiving end of being lambasted, ridiculed, and parodied. Hilary Rose, a journalist for The Times, did so in her series about archetypes, nearly 18 months ago, which was highly amusing. And she's doing it again, with this time imagining the diary of Prince Harry, aged 39 and a half, taking into account recent events. I'm going to relay that to you for your amusement and entertainment. But remember, it's content such as this, in terms of what Hilary Rose has written in a mainstream newspaper, that really gets under the skin of this one's wife, because it shows that she and her husband are not treated seriously. Many narcissists believe themselves to be hugely important, that they're serious players, serious individuals, serious movers and shakers, and therefore anything that suggests to the contrary is naturally a threat to control. And therefore, should this one's wife be aware of this article in the Times, or indeed other people's reference to it, or my relaying of it, it really gets under her skin, because it reinforces a view that many, many, many people have of her, that she's a clown, an idiot, a grifter, that she is not to be taken seriously, and that is diametrically opposed to the view that she wants to impose upon the world, and thus really gets to her because it amounts to a threat to control. Let's learn more about the extent of that threat to control by diving into the diary of Prince Harry.
Oh, Pa calls to say he's got cancer, so I fly over immediately to talk about me. Everything's going to be fine, I tell him, because I'm prepared to start working for the family firm again, as a huge favour, because you owe me. This is how forgiveness works, and rifts are healed. Also, you need to apologise, but I forgive you.
For what? Says Pa,
and Camilla raises an eyebrow, but I ignore them both and carry on talking. So, I'll help out while you and Kate are ill. Yeah, I say, but this will only be a temporary cessation of I start to say, then stop, check my notes and start again. Temporary arrangement, I tell them, until it gets boring, or starts to rain, or until someone offers us money to do fun stuff. Also, I say, I'll just be doing a few carefully chosen gigs here and there. Big state events, yeah? Trooping the Colour, Remembrance Sunday, that sort of thing. Leave the ribbon cutting to Anne. I've discussed it with Meg. She's hugely supportive and helped me to realise that the test of whether I do a job or not will be whether it ends on the balcony of Buckingham Palace with cheering crowds and a fly past, yeah? You see, I say, leaning forward and gazing at him and Camilla with love and empathy.
If it helps, pretend she's Oprah,
said Meg when I was practising. I am focused on reconciling with my family. I want to heal the rift, at least until the alternative pays more. What do you think? Great idea, right? You'll soon wonder how you ever managed without me. Meg says you've barely managed at all, and we all know that nobody cares about the royal family without us. And Camilla raises an eyebrow, and Pa says he'll think about it. I think it went well, I tell Meg when I get back. I had 30 minutes with him, but apart from that I saw no one, went nowhere, spoke to nobody, spent the night in a hotel, and flew home. Meg's busy with her wardrobe for the Invictus thing we're doing in Vancouver.
I'm thinking high-low,
she told me.
Beautiful cashmere beanies, really textural, and soft Hermes padded jackets. The gold jewelry will be stealth lux to indicate humility and available to buy, link in bio.
What about me? I asked her. What should I wear? And she said,
You're the low part. If you fetch your anorak, I'll get someone to brush the dog hair off.
Oh, I love our life here. The sun always shines. If only there were flypasts and everyone cheered, it would be perfect. Before we go to Canada, I have a Zoom call with the guys at Travelist about how we make travel more sustainable. I want to help people, you, make better travel choices, I say. I want to change the way you, travel for good, for the sake of the planet. And they nod, maybe bow. It's hard to tell on Zoom, but either is fine.
This is why we pay you the big bucks, they say. Insights like that.
And I nod and feel wise. Then Meg and I catch a private jet up the coast of Vancouver. To be clear, I only ever travel private when I have to, when it really can't be avoided, yeah? But it's amazing how often it's unavoidable. This makes me sad. I tell my therapist, and he says,
Whatever. About your mother?
So now Meg and I are in Vancouver to publicise next year's Invictus Games for Wounded Warriors. It's all super casual, super informal, because we reject all the flummery of royalty. It's a distraction that gets in the way of our valuable work. Out of interest, I asked Meg this morning, opening my wallet, which is empty, exactly how valuable is our work at the moment? To the nearest $50? But she said she'd have to get back to me on that, and besides, Queen Elizabeth never carried cash, and I say, yes, that is true, so that must clinch it. My love, I tell her, you are so clever and wise and also hot. Just then the presswoman comes in to say that the press are reporting things we haven't authorised them to report. Journalists have written articles, she says, without offering us copy approval, picture approval, anything, and it's a disgrace. They've said we're a busted flush, she says, and nobody cares what we do anymore. We'll sue, I tell her, shrugging. If nothing else, it passes the time.
You go out there and tell them we will not be broken,
Meg yells, but in a loving way.
You tell them we've been constantly challenged and criticized, but we're still here, still pursuing what we believe in, still working. We will not be broken. Also, tell them to stop writing things we have not specifically authorized them to write. And the presswoman says, Yes, ma'am, of course, ma'am. Whatever you say, ma'am.
And hurries away. Anyway, now we've arrived at the venue, and the organizer guy comes out to greet us. You can call me sir, I tell him, because that's how informal I am now. We live in California. And he bows, and I feel good.
We want everything to be super casual, so the competitors feel at home,
says this one's wife.
I'm Meg, but you can call me ma'am.
So I'm giving a motivational speech to a crowd of the Invictus competitors, extraordinary men and women who have overcome terrible adversity. We will not be broken, I yell, and the crowd cheers. Time and time again we've been told that this is make or break for us, I continue, and there's a murmur of puzzlement through the crowd, and the organizer guy standing next to me says, Sir, you realize this is supposed to be about them, don't you? Not about you. And I tell him, don't be ridiculous, it can't be about them, it never is. It's always about us. And so, I want to say, we're still here, I shout, punching the air triumphantly as the Invictus competitors gaze up at me. We will not be broken. And there's a confused silence, and beside me Meg does a three-quarter smile and tilts her head just a fraction, and the lighting guy gives her the thumbs up. A journalist from American Breakfast TV has been following us because I'm giving him an interview. He talks about the Duke of Sussex a lot, and I try not to care, but really I do. Why can't he say Duke? I say to Meg. Duke sounds like a duck. Nobody called Elvis the Duke.
That's because Elvis was the king,
she says, and I stop what I'm doing, which might be very important, but realistically isn't, and say, but Pa is the king, isn't he? She rolls her eyes, but lovingly, and says that Elvis is off message today anyway, and also dead. Michael Bublé is going to sing me a song about what a visionary I am, even when I haven't taken any mind-altering drugs. I put my anorak on and head out for my interview. It's lucky that I'm such a devoted son that I've seen Pa recently, I say to Meg as I leave. The journalist might want to ask about him, don't you think? And Meg says, might, is not possibly the word she would use. I wouldn't want to look like the sort of son who trashes his father heartlessly, repeatedly, I say, or doesn't speak to him for months on end, or only goes to see him because he's got cancer, because that doesn't reflect who I am, or my values, which are hopefully valuable. I look hopefully at Meg, who stares out of the window and hums, and I get in the car with my interview preparation notes. I am a devoted son, keen to forgive my family and heal the rift, I read, unless the alternative pays more. I tell the Breakfast TV guy that I love my family and may well be flying over the UK in the coming years. Or, if not over it, then near, I add. And if they've got the red drapes on the balcony at Buckingham Palace, I might even land. He asked if I feel American, but my therapist says I should never talk about feelings before I've run them past him, because they might be the wrong feelings. So I say no instead. Have you considered becoming a US citizen? He says. And I say yes, which is true, but is not a priority, which is also true because it's never going to happen. When we looked into it, we realised that if I took US citizenship, I'd have to give up my titles. And where would that leave me? I asked my therapist, as a balding, middle-aged ginger with a hot wife. But then he snapped his fingers and said, wake up now. So I must have dreamt it. Then the journalist asked me, what's your outlook on your father's health? And I said, that stays between me and him, matey. And then when we watched the footage back later, Meg said, my love, you said that with a straight face. High five. I tell him I've always lived a life of service, which is true, apart from when I haven't. For example, many of the past 39 years, and all the past 4 years, I've been building a new life, you see, with no friends or family. Meg has been building a new brand with no friends or family, and the PR people have been building a new website and a slogan with no mention of friends or family, because we haven't got any. They unveiled the slogan last week, show up, do good. I tell them that rings a bell. There's another family that does that already, I say, but without the slogan, show up, do good. Who can it be? I scratch my head. The presidential first family? The Addams family? Meg says, hush now, honey, and kisses me, and I forget.
And there we are. Further ridicule of Prince Harry and this one's wife, this time courtesy of Hilary Rose in the Times, which puts paid once again to the notion of this one's wife being serious, something that will infuriate her. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.